Howdy, boys and girls, and welcome back. It is a brave new world of college football, and a I guess we're brave. We're brave. We're not brave. We are. We are brave. It's the
I'm
Carla
on
Crappy Show.
break. I don't know what you're talking about.
That's right. Aldous Huxley has changed college football forever. For all
It's
you
Carla
lit majors out there. I see you.
Yes. We aim to please everybody. I'm Crappy. That's Carla, who's on
Hello.
break. I will join her on break in just a couple days, and I'm going to be very stoked about that. Carla, how is your break going so far?
So far so good. My goal every year on break. So it's a mad dash to because those of you that know me and follow me on socials understand that like finals week and my birthday and like the big lessons and carols service at church are always all the same week. And
we try to throw Bowlapalooza in there too.
And we
pretty
threw
much without
Bowlapalooza
fail.
in here this year too. Yeah, so it was a crazy busy week. I only had one really stupid late night, which was good. Made it to commencement. So I got to watch my capstone cohort walk, which was really cool.
Very cool.
And then I finished my grades Saturday night and did lessons in Carol on Sunday. And then my goal this week is to do as little as possible. Yeah, nothing. I try to do nothing. And so although I say that, and like today I put my Christmas tree up finally.
Yeah.
So
That counts as nothing. That's fine.
yeah, I didn't leave the house, as I'm sure you can tell if you're watching the video recording. I am still kind of in my cleaning clothes. I don't care. It's break, and I'm having a very lovely cider.
Very
Because
nice.
I don't have to get up stupid early tomorrow morning.
Yes.
So this is the closest thing. Do you all remember the Woodchuck's Fall?
Yeah, I do.
Woodchuck Falls cider that was like so good, and then
Yeah.
they stopped making it. Diskin Cider here in Nashville has a cider called Revolution, I think is what it's called.
Okay.
And it's a fall cider, and it's the closest thing I've ever found to the Woodchuck Fall, which I
Nice.
loved. So this is lovely. Thanks, Diskin. Not sponsored. But yeah, so that's life so far. I'm living it up. It's great.
Okay. Excellent. AJ, you have a break coming too. Start at the end of this week. After this week,
Yeah.
Is that,
I start with the playoff. The first round of the playoff games is when my break
Playoff.
starts.
Yes.
Not because my company is on break or anything like that, just because I take the last 2 weeks of the year off every year.
which is a good thing to do.
This is a tradition I started, probably right around the time we started. We had kids, and trying to take time off for me during the year is always weird. But the last 2 weeks of the year, no one needs me. No one should need me, and so I take off the last 2 weeks of the year. In fact, I started my current job 5 years ago yesterday, which was very fun.
Congratulations.
And I didn't get to take those 2 weeks off because I was brand new. And
course.
so I realized how completely and utterly dead it is. And I went, cool, I don't need to worry about this at all. And so yeah, it's fine. So the last 2 weeks of the year, I take off. And so, yeah, I'm on break then. And I actually don't go back to the 7th because
got me beat there.
I decided to extend into the actually no, because of the way the dates fall. The 23rd is Monday, so then the next week would have been the full second week, and then I took Monday too for reasons.
Yeah.
Just in case my kids are listening, it's fine.
Okay.
I hope Andy and Hannah, if you're listening, go to bed.
It's 9:40, guys. Get ready
Go
for
to bed.
brush your teeth, go to bed, do all that stuff. I get more excited as we get closer to the end of this week because as you guys are aware, transitioning from journalism when there really, I mean, you can take vacation days, but there are no days off, to academia, and the university's closed after this week.
Yes,
And
welcome.
there's nothing to do, so we don't do anything. And I am off from Monday until the 2nd of January. Second and third are both work from home days, so that's questionable about how much actual work will be done. But I'm sure that there will be some stuff to get caught up on. But I am so looking forward to this binging bowl games. It's going to be spectacular.
Welcome to the dark side of academia. We have breaks.
I like it a lot.
Although you don't get as good of a break as I do because welcome to
Yeah.
being faculty, we don't go back until the 21st. So
Okay. Totally fair. Totally fair. I
I
mean,
have a lot of work to do. I
someone's
have a
got
lot
to
of prepping
make
to do, but yeah,
someone in advancement has to make money to support you guys.
that is true.
So that is what I will be. That is
Hey,
what I will
someone
be doing.
remind me to talk about academic calendars when we get to the transfer portal. Thank you.
There is that. There is that. We're gonna start. We always start by looking back, and there's only one game to look back on that I'm not sure any of us actually saw it. I did not. And we're talking about Army Navy, of course. I did not
AJ
see
saw
it.
it.
We were doing birthday stuff for Kelly. Carla, you said you did not see it.
I was at commencement. Yep.
You were at commencement. AJ is waving his hand.
I saw it. We
I
all
saw.
saw.
I will
Um,
start. I will start by congratulating my Navy friends
Woo.
because that was I mean that was kind of a beating actually from what I understand to hold Army to 113 yards rushing and 3 yards per carry. Oof. Excellent effort by the Naval Academy. AJ, what the hell happened?
um, this is normally one of those games. Like Army Navy, every single year has two teams who both know the option because they
Mhm,
both run it,
mhm,
and so really what it comes down to is how much have they added to the offense that they haven't shown the other team all year.
mhm,
And there's actually a really, really great article by Stephen Godfrey, who embedded with Army when they broke the Navy streak
mhm.
back in 2016, where he embeds with Jeff Monken and Army and talks through like these guys practice for this game all year long.
Mhm.
Every single week, they are practicing for this game. They are adding plays in weeks of practice during the season, but they don't ever show that play. Or they show that formation and do something different out of it all year.
Mhm.
And they do a lot of things and a lot of subterfuge, good military stuff to
Absolutely.
try and gain an advantage. And Navy sniffed all of it out.
Mhm.
There was nothing. Nothing was doing. Bryson Daly
Must not have been.
was stuffed all game long.
Mhm.
The game, though, really turned when Army tried to throw.
Three picks, I think.
There was
Yeah,
three picks on Bryson Daly.
yeah.
One of them, I don't entirely put on him.
Okay.
It was a really goofy, like pass that should have probably been incomplete, should have probably not really been caught,
Mhm.
but it got popped up in the air to a Navy defender. I
Okay.
don't entirely put that one on him,
Yeah.
but they started to throw a lot more towards the end of the game. They got away from the run because they just couldn't. They couldn't have a 10-minute drive. They just didn't have enough time to have a 10-minute
Yep.
drive and
Yes.
score the amount of points they needed.
Yeah.
But what really put this away is Army scores a touchdown to make it an 8-point game. It's 21-13.
Mhm.
And they get a stop on Navy at like the Navy 45.
Okay.
Navy comes out to punt.
Mhm.
And they're like, okay, Army's got to stop. They're going to get the ball back. There's an opportunity to go down and at least tie the game. Still a one possession game.
Yeah.
Right. It's touchdown and a 2-pointer. It's a one possession game. And they ran a fake because every good Army Navy game involves some sort of special teams chicanery.
Uh-huh.
And what did they do? They snapped the ball to a guy wearing number 96. He is a nose tackle. And you watch the big fellow rumble, and they blocked beautifully for this man. He ran untouched for a solid 25 yards until the Army
Spectacular.
returner, who sees very clearly this is a fake, and lays the lumber to him, pops him
Okay.
ankles over tea kettle, pops the ball out. Navy recovered, but he chopped him down. And you could see the look on his face after he fumbled, like, oh no, I ruined everything. And then he saw the ball was good. He's like, yeah. Navy went and scored a touchdown immediately following that, and that's when the game got away.
Okay.
Congratulations to Navy on palindroming Army 31-13.
Yep.
Navy sang second.
Mhm.
Um, Navy's uniforms were super clean. They were,
Mhm.
I think it was a fighter squadron called the Bones, which
Okay.
were really cool. Army had the, um,
101st Airborne.
yeah, the 101st Airborne,
Yep.
but all the jerseys on the back said Army with all the letters underlined with an exclamation point at the end. It's like Army. It's like, yeah,
That was the one thing about
congratulations.
this. I was like, oh, that's a little cringy, guys. Don't do that.
Yeah. So, congratulations on your conference championship that you will never actually enjoy because you lost the Navy.
Yep. Yep. Got
So
Detroit for a week.
they got to enjoy it for a week and then they lost the Navy. Um, and now they have a bowl game.
Against somebody, against La Tech.
If you
Um,
listen to last week's episode where we all picked Army
mhm,
to win their bowl game,
mhm.
I'm pretty sure the picks still stand.
Probably, but the
Probably.
noteworthy thing here, one of the other things we talked about during Bowlapalooza was the kind of weird stuff that was going on at Marshall.
Yes.
Um, what has happened at Marshall, for those of you who need to be caught up, um, a crap ton of players on their roster, I don't know what the percentage is, um, entered the portal. Presumably, we don't know this yet. Presumably, a lot of them are going to end up at Southern Miss with Charles Huff, um, as was, and it's not super unusual, is what happened with Indiana and Kurt Signetti, coming from Jimmy Madison. But the number of players who left, was so high that Marshall could not field a team for the bowl game against Army. So in the Independence Bowl, Louisiana Tech is going to face Army instead. Um, what do you guys think? I mean, is there too much of this? I tend to think, no. I mean, this is going to happen. This is the system we have. But what do you guys think about that level of that number of transfers, putting an actual team in jeopardy?
I think that the easy answer here is this is this is player mobility.
Mhm.
The difference is like right now, while we're recording this, we're the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl is happening right now. One of the
Mhm.
teams doesn't have a head coach.
Yep.
Chad Scott is the interim head coach for West Virginia. We'll talk about them in a moment.
Mhm.
But this happens every year. The head coach leaves. He takes some of his coaching staff with him, if not all of his coaching staff with him.
Right.
And now all of a sudden, the school now has to go hire, you have interim coaches that coach out the bowl game if they made a bowl. And then after that, they're, on the road recruiting for the new school.
Mhm.
The ability for players to move and follow their coach is actually like the inverse of what it used to be, where you signed on to play for insert college here. And if your coach left, you were still signed on because you committed to play for the West Virginia Mountaineers, the Penn
Mhm.
State Nittany Lions, the Ohio State Buckeyes, right? Now it's a lot of these guys are signing on to play for their coach.
Yeah.
They like the coach who recruited them. They were successful with that coach. They would like to follow their coach to his new location. This is how you get Indiana in the playoff because a
Mhm.
lot of Indiana success is because of JMU kids who transferred. Now, the situation with Marshall in particular is a goofy one
Mhm.
because you have a coach who was semi on the hot seat after
Mhm.
last year, turns around, goes out, wins the conference,
Mhm.
and immediately leaves for the worst job in the conference or for the like lowest performing team in the conference. He goes from the team who won the conference championship to the team who finished dead last. He didn't want to be there. Marshall didn't really want him to be there either.
Right.
So there's like a semi mutual parting of ways here, but not really that mutual.
Mhm.
So 31 players transfer for Marshall. Now you don't have anybody to play. This is likely going to continue happening.
Mhm.
I don't know that it's going to continue happening too. We don't have enough to field a team. I think this was a particularly rough situation.
Mhm.
But as I mentioned earlier, the academic calendar is what forces the portal to be open at this time,
Mhm.
Yep.
right? As a reminder, these are still student athletes. who still have to go to class,
Mhm.
who still have to maintain academic eligibility, who, when their coach leaves and they enter the portal, they can't wait through the spring season with no
Yep.
scholarship,
Yep.
Right.
right? They want to transfer. And in order to do that, they have to transfer. Carla, when do you go back to class?
January 21st.
Right. There's other schools who go back a little earlier than that. They go back
Yep.
the week of the 13th. They go
Mhm.
back maybe even the week of the 6th. So if you're going to transfer, you have to file all that paperwork. You got to do all the
Yep.
things. You're 20 years old. 20-year-olds don't do paperwork. I'm 40. I don't even like doing paperwork. But being able to go from school A to school B, you are transferring schools and
Mhm.
credits and all that other fun nonsense. And so it has to happen in this window. As much as we would love to say, oh, yeah, the transfer portal can open in January or whatever, it's like, no, it can't.
Mm-mm.
Right.
You have to
Right.
finish out that spring semester. So I think this is just a really particularly goofy case.
Mhm. I agree. I agree.
And I will say that it is with opt-outs and with the portal, you're going to find a lot of teams who don't have their standard,
Mhm.
roster that they had for the entire season because you have guys who are like, I'm not getting hurt playing in the Frisco Bowl because I'm going to the league,
Yep.
or I'm transferring and I'm not going to play. Potentially, you could have had Army and Marshall play in a bowl game, and all of the Marshall players wait to transfer until afterwards. They play one last game together. But like if you're in the Bahamas Bowl, you can't wait until
Nope.
January 4th to
Because
transfer,
Right.
right?
your term
So
might be started already.
so I think this is just the reality of the sport now. We have
Mhm.
player mobility, which is good. This
Yes.
is one of the side
Agree.
effects of having player mobility.
Carla,
Yeah.
what thoughts do you have?
Yeah, no, I agree with that assessment. And the other reason why like you can't open the portal earlier than that is the inverse of what AJ was talking
Mhm.
about, is that they're finishing finals,
Mhm.
right? Like I mean, we just finished finals last week. So like you can't
Yeah.
open the portal
Yeah.
any earlier because you have to finish out your academic semester. And yeah, that window is really tight
Mhm.
because there's a lot that has to happen to move all of your credits and, transfer students or what's the equal on the how do your credits transfer? Did you actually lose some time? Like
Mhm.
it's messy. It's really, really messy. Um, so yeah, this is, I mean, I'm not going to lie that I kind of had some COVID flashbacks when we were replacing teams out of bowl games.
Exactly.
That was the first thing that popped into my brain. And then the second thing that popped into my brain was exactly what you were talking about with Indiana. This is the inverse of Indiana and Colorado.
Mhm. Mhm.
Right? I mean, it's the exact opposite of what happened in both of those programs. Both those programs benefited highly from a large influx of transfer students who
Mhm.
followed coaches. This is the exact same situation. Unfortunately for Marshall, it meant they didn't have enough players for a team.
Yeah.
We're this is I agree with AJ. I don't know that this is going to be a frequent thing where you see rosters drop so low that you
Mhm.
can't field a team. This was we talked about it extensively. If you haven't heard Bowlapalooza, go back and listen to Bowlapalooza. We talked about how big of a mess the Marshall situation was even before the
Before
portal
this happened,
opened.
yes, yes.
I don't think we'll see this at massive scale to
Mhm.
this extreme. But yeah, I mean, we're going to talk about this in a minute. We got a whole bunch of pretty big name players
Mhm.
that have said, you know what, I'm going to go look and see if there's someplace else better for me. And the interesting thing is that like you can enter the portal, but you can also like you can enter the portal but then come back.
Mhm.
Right? Because we've seen teams do that, or we've seen players do that too, where they entered the portal and
Yes.
went, nah, there's nothing better out here. I'm going to stay where I am. And they decide to stay. Is that going to happen here? Probably not. But like that is an interesting dynamic now where you're seeing players essentially testing the waters
Mhm.
by saying, I'm going to get in the portal.
Right.
Does anybody
Right.
want me? Does
Right.
anybody have is there a better opportunity for me to see better playing time or what have you? So, yeah, welcome to the new world of college football.
Again, Brave New World. Here we go.
Mhm.
Um,
We're yeah.
I did want to point out, so Army is playing Louisiana Tech now.
Mhm.
The process to get to Louisiana Tech was an interesting one because all of the 6-6 teams were accounted for in bowl season.
Mhm.
So they had to go to 5-7 teams, which means it's 5-7 plus APR. And
Okay.
APR is the measure of success. It's not just the existing team and their eligibility, it's the previous season's multiple eligibility from an academic standpoint. So These are the teams that turned down the Independence Bowl before Louisiana Tech said yes. Okay, ready?
I'm ready.
We start with Cincinnati. Cincinnati was number one in APR of the 5-7 teams. They said no. They could have stuck it to the coach who left them, Luke Fickell in Wisconsin, who was number two. They also turned it down.
Okay.
Air Force could have had another shot at Army. They
Oh,
decided to turn it down.
all right.
Auburn also turned it down. Virginia turned it down. Utah turned it down. Oregon State, your Pac-12 champions, also turned it down. Listen, you don't win the Pac-12 and go to Shreveport.
Okay, that's fair. Totally fair. You go to
Michigan State turned it down. UCLA turned it down. Old Dominion turned it down. Kansas, who had a very good finish to the season, they turned it down. Eastern Michigan turned it down. Unsurprisingly, my beloved Bows turned it down. You're not flying from Hawaii to Shreveport. Gross.
Absolutely not.
New Mexico turned it down. And Charlotte turned it down, which means you get to team number 17, Louisiana Tech in Ruston, who said yes. If they had said no, the last 5-7 team the last 5-7 team was ULM. And Louisiana Tech steals a bowl from ULM.
Okay, that's fun.
They are 30 miles apart on I-10. And sorry, no, I-20, other way around.
Okay.
Lafayette's on the bottom, Monroe's on top. So I-20, they're 30 miles apart. So Ruston, it's like an hour drive to Shreveport. They're just going to go down the road. Louisiana Tech, by the way, by doing this, that means they break the tie with Ole Miss for most Independence Bowl appearances. So congratulations to you, Louisiana Tech. You did it the most.
Outstanding. I still think Army's going to win, but this whole thing was prompted, of course, by a coach departing, or in Marshall's case, sort of being departed. Not I don't know how you characterize that, but it's not a typical thing. There have been, Carla, a couple huge coaching moves, one of which is on my phone right here, streaming this game because Rich Rod is up in the booth talking to these guys on ESPN.
Yep.
What's your favorite coaching move so far?
Well, I would like to say that, friends, we called Rich Rod to WVU during
Yes, we did.
Bowlapalooza. Go
Yes, we
back and
did.
listen to that show because we were talking about Jacksonville State, saying, "Yeah, Rich Rod back to West Virginia because Scott Frost went to UCF," and then we get the weirdest, like, why, Bill? Why? Like, I cannot imagine Bill Belichick like going on recruiting trips. Like, I just.
No, I cannot.
I
cannot.
I don't know. My favorite
I'll pass
move.
on the yams.
Yeah. I mean, I have to believe that like the best move is Rich Rod back to WVU. I mean, that fan base loved him when he was there. He did some incredible things. They had some incredible runs while he was at WVU. And he left for where did he go? He went to Houston. No, he didn't go to Houston. Hogo went to Houston. Did he get canned at some point?
No.
I don't remember where he went.
He took a little job he took a little job up north.
Yes, he did.
That was when he went to
Yes, he did.
Michigan.
Oh, okay,
Yes, he
that's
did.
right. That's right. Yeah, so like Rich Rod back to WVU, that feels right.
Mhm.
I think that's the best fit. I think they're going to see success faster.
Mhm.
Although Scott Frost to UCF is really intriguing. To see him go back because they had some good runs with him at
did.
UCF, and we'll see how fast he can rebuild down there. But yeah, those are kind of the big ones. I mean, there's been some other coaching vacancies and moves that have happened as well, but those are kind of the three big ones that everyone's talking about. So, yeah, for right now, I'll say Rich Rod to WVU.
Okay, AJ, how is Bill Belichick going to make that work?
Well, apparently,
Uh,
when he was being interviewed, he provided UNC with allegedly, sprinkle some allegedlys on here, a 400-page manifesto on how the program should run.
Okay.
No, I like, I'm happy for you or I'm sorry for you. I'm not reading all that.
Nope.
But one of the things that he apparently added in there was he wanted to have a GM or director of player personnel who would run recruiting,
Hmm.
and recruiting would not be handled by him,
Hmm.
which I find fascinating.
Yes.
Hmm.
Because my very first thought when, just like Carla, was like, imagine Bill Belichick recruiting, right? That just popped into my head immediately. But I'm interested to see if the most NFL dude possible,
Hmm.
like he is the shield,
Yes.
right? He is
Yes.
Right.
the most NFL do your job type of guy possible.
Hmm.
And now he's going to have to do all the things that a college head coach does, right? This is actually what makes Dion a great head coach because he knows how to politic. He knows how to
Yes.
shake the hands and kiss the babies. He knows how to go be the face of the program. He knows how to do all of those things.
Hmm.
He's also a very good recruiter. He has the ability to close better than anybody since Saban was
Hmm.
doing it. Like Dion as a head coach, I get. Dion just needs to have like coordinators that can handle those parts of the actual like
Yep.
X's and O's of the
Yeah.
game. Like that's not to say that Dion is doesn't know what he's doing, but he is a figurehead of a head coach. He is the CEO type head coach.
Absolutely.
I need
Yeah.
my OC is going to handle the offense, and my DC is going to handle the defense, and I'm just going to coach him up, right?
Hmm.
I'm going to motivate. Bill Belichick is the most X's and O's dude. And I see him being able to do all the things that he wants to do, and he can be successful. I think
Hmm.
it's more how does he translate to the college game? The rules are ever so slightly different, like the
Yeah.
ineligible man downfield rule.
Hmm.
It's 1 yard in the NFL, it's 3 yards in college.
Hmm.
The hashes are at different widths, which means different formations can be done in college versus what they can do in the pros. There's all sorts of different rule differences that are
Yeah.
ever so slight. It's the same game, but ever so slight that make this a little bit different. Also, there was apparently a stipulation in his contract. I have not seen the full FOIA version of his contract, but apparently there was a stipulation in his contract that says his son Steve has to be made head coach in waiting. So we got a little nepo hire here. That's not to say
Sweet.
that
Good.
Steve is not a bad coach. He is currently the DC for
Washington, right?
for Washington,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
the University of
Huskies. The Huskies.
the Washington football team for the Huskies. So his son Steve is familiar with coaching college football
Hmm.
and so on and so forth. So I don't know. I think they're paying him a pile of money. They're paying him 10 million a year.
Yes.
The ACC's TV deal, as a reminder, is 19 million a year. So it's not like they got piles of money to throw at him. I don't know. I think this will be fine. The one that's most
It-
interesting to me,
yeah.
and there's two. No, the first one is UNLV hired Dan Mullen.
Hmm.
Oh, right. Yep.
So we don't get Dan Mullen and Harry
On
Lyles Jr. and Matt Berry in the booth for the Duke's Mayo Bowl, which is the proper energy that bowl needs, which I'm real sad about.
Kelly and I religiously watch a recorded version of College Football Final every Sunday. And the dynamic the last couple years with Mullen and Joey Galloway has been fantastic. And I will miss that a lot.
Yes. And it is truly great, but he's now going to be the head coach at UNLV.
Hmm?
I think he can do a great job there. Dan, you do know you have to recruit again, right? You know you have to
Sorry,
go.
sorry, bud.
Most he didn't exactly leave the covered stock when he left Florida. The other one is Idaho head coach Jason Eck taking over it for Bronco Mendenhall at New Mexico. Jason Eck is a great head coach. He is also responsible for the new potato trophy between Idaho and Idaho State. And he goes
Oh,
to
okay.
another far-flung Western school. He goes from Idaho to New Mexico. It's not like,
It's slowly coming east, maybe.
I mean, it's a potentially a more populated area, Moscow,
Yeah,
Idaho versus Santa Fe.
I would. I
But
would think
he's a very, very good head coach. I'm interested to see how he translates from FCS up to FBS, but
Mhm. Mhm.
that one's super exciting to see.
Okay. We also want to talk about the transfer portal. And Carl, I almost brought this up when we were talking about the Marshall thing, because you mentioned the academic calendar
Mhm.
and the timing of everything. And Penn State got caught in that. Take us through what happened with that one.
Yeah. So, Bo, Backup quarterback Bo is in the
Hmm.
portal.
Hmm.
Um, and kind of exploring his options. And I was going to mention this is talking about the game, but I can mention it here. I that
Yeah.
that's a big deal.
Hmm.
With the way that the Penn State playbook had multiple kind of trick kind of plays that involved Bo coming in either under center or out wide or although and so those are now likely not in the playbook for this weekend's playoff games. Also interesting, I didn't even look to see who the third string quarterback is because hi, guess what? You better be ready to go now. Um,
If he can, there's a plus if he can run the football. That would
right?
be helpful.
So you might be able to put him in there, but after watching them play live in Indy, maybe not having those plays in the playbook is not necessarily a bad thing with the way that they were used in the Big Ten title game. Not
Okay.
great.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I
Your
mean,
third string quarterback, or your current backup is Ethan Grunkemeyer. He is a freshman out of Lewis Center, Ohio. He went to Olentangy.
Olentangy. The G is
Olentangy.
soft. The G is
Sure.
soft.
Olentangy.
Krunkenmeyer?
Grunkenmeyer.
Grunken.
Grunkemeyer. Ethan
Okay.
Grunkenmeyer. He
he
Okay.
was
did not
very highly
play a
touted.
sing. Yeah, he has not played yet. So
Yeah.
Loose center, that part of the suburban, sort of suburban Columbus, is growing like crazy. So that's Olentangy's vastly improved high school football program
Yeah.
than it
four
So
was when
star
I was in
four
this.
star out of high school.
Okay,
yeah,
nice.
I thought
Okay.
I remember there being kind of a hot recruiting um
Grunken.
for him. So
It's a good thing that Penn State doesn't put the letters on the backs of the jerseys.
you're right. Because the odds
Just
are
say,
likely that they would probably spell it wrong.
just call him Grunk.
Um, yes, but who are the chefs? Um,
Great googly moogly.
um, yeah. So the transfer portal stuff changes things, and
Yeah,
it's not just Penn State. I am absolutely devastated that my Holiday Bowl has gotten upended.
yeah.
Um, by John Mateer
Hmm.
jumping in the portal
Hmm.
from Washington State. I mean, I understand it, I get it, but dude, you took my Holiday Bowl away from me.
I know, I know.
Because
And
that game still should be fun, but it's not going to be as fun.
he was immediately on the number one position, ESPN's rankings of available players too. So it will be fun to see where he lands.
Somebody mentioned that the rumor had it that he might be going to Oklahoma, and that would be
To follow a coordinator,
fascinating.
that would be
Yeah.
because that's not what Oklahoma's offense has been. Although the kid who was ran more, was a little more athletic, did kind of give them an offensive boost, middle-ish of the season.
Hmm.
I did not follow the Sooners closely enough to know if he continued playing or not. Um, Anyone else get your attention as far as the portal goes? In Ohio State, we lost Air Borland,
Noland.
um, Noland. Thank you. Um, who was one of several quarterback prospects.
Hmm.
Probably the most noteworthy one that entered from OSU. Oh no, well, duh, Devin Brown, backup quarterback. This is an interesting thing though. And Kelly brought this up in text with me and another Penn State friend. Bo is apparently elected in consultation with the coaches not to stay. Devin Brown said, "I am entering the portal. I am staying with the team through, whatever Ohio State's playoff run is." There were, and we talked about a couple other examples. I don't remember off the top of my head. Um, and I don't know how if it's just a timing thing that it works out for Devin Brown, if he's got enough NIL money that he's not super concerned about like having to transfer immediately. I don't know how that's gonna how the timing works for him. But apparently that was not the case at Penn State. So I am not, and maybe AJ, if you know this, what the rules are,
Um,
what the possibilities are there. But it was a curious thing that some players are electing to stay with their teams through whatever postseason they have.
yeah, I think it may be just a team by team thing.
Hmm.
Like hey, we're in the playoff and I want to be here with the team. I want to be here with the guys. I think there are some other opportunities available to me, whatever.
Mhm.
And if the coaching staff will let him stay, I guess he could stay. Yeah, currently in the portal, Aaron Noland, Miles Walker, who was a three-star tackle, Devin
Mhm.
Brown, Kojo Antwi, Jaden Ballard, wide receiver,
Mhm.
and Gabe Powers, who's a linebacker,
Who,
are
who
all.
scored a touchdown during the season? Special teams maybe. But
So
he got some playing time.
So all of those
Um,
guys are in there. The one that I saw that made me laugh was
hmm.
Thomas Castellanos, who was the quarterback for Boston College,
Okay.
transfers to Florida State. Almost like they said, how did you do that? Show us how you did that. Show us how you beat us. Um, it was very funny. I did see
He's just
something today that Mike Norvell is giving $4.5 million to a fundraising initiative for Florida State. Like he's putting his own money
helpful.
in.
Helpful.
I mean, you got paid $9 million to be the
Uh-huh.
coach there, and you won one game or two games all year. Yeah, you should put the money back. It's fine. Respect to Mike Nolan or to Mike Norvell for that. Um, yeah, it's super interesting. By the way, if you want to see who's entered the portal, who's gone, where they've gone,
Mhm.
247 Sports has a very good transfer
They
portal
do.
thing. Although if you Google it, it will take you to the 2024 page, which is last season's portal.
Mhm.
So you need to switch the year to 2025. But you can see it. You can pick by status, position, whatever. So
Yeah.
um,
I'm looking at
John
on three
Mateer
right
is
now.
yeah, John Mateer is the top
Okay.
ranked player in the portal as of right now. So
Georgia Tech wide receiver Eric Singleton is also in the portal, which is interesting.
Hmm.
And on three is reporting that it's kind of an even split right now whether he's going to go to Auburn or Ole Miss.
247 has 100% to Ole Miss.
Okay. Okay.
So
Hmm.
it's super interesting. This is the part where if you're a Crute watcher,
Mhm.
that if you're a roster watcher in the off
Yeah.
season, you have to take the portal into consideration. Where it's like, okay, we missed on such and such guy in recruiting or whatever, that you can look at the portal and see who else is in there. Like John Mateer is a good quarterback. He's a 4-star quarterback, and he is
Yep.
up a star from when he was in high school.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that I think is interesting in and of itself. But yeah, I mean, it's that time of the year. There will be
Yeah.
another one of these after spring ball.
Right.
So if you're a Crute or Portal watcher, this is where to go.
If you're a portal watcher, I would remind you that this is about the time of the year, 1 year ago when Ohio State won the 2024 national championship, and
Oh,
you
when they
saw how
got
that
Quinshot Junkins
when you see
and
how that
Will
works
Howard.
out. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
hmm
Um. Speaking of Ohio State and national championships, we do have 4 games to talk about. We've obviously covered our bowl games, our Bowlapalooza. Please go back and listen to that show if you haven't listened to it, because it will be applicable for a while. Uh, I don't. Yeah, we haven't started. OU was the first game that we, or was there one this week? Earlier in the week.
Stand by. Hold on.
Earlier, OU is noon on Friday. Um,
Um,
I don't.
no,
I
well,
don't.
Art of Sport. Art of
The Art of
Sport
Art of
Sports
LA
team.
Bowl
Sport is
is
the
Yes.
on
first one.
Wednesday. It's tomorrow.
Okay. Okay.
And we did
Uh,
talk about the ISIS Bowl.
well, yeah. Yes, we did.
So,
Yes, that's true.
which was actually a wildly entertaining game. I watched a good chunk of that game because I was home finishing my grades. The game on while I was doing that.
Perfect. Perfect. So anyway, bowl games, we got you covered. Bowlapalooza, it was a great show. Set aside a little time to listen to it, and you've only really missed. By the time you hear this, you will have only really missed one game that we did a full discussion on. Ah, on Friday, after having watched the Mid American Conference champion Ohio University Bobcats defeat the Jacksonville State Gamecocks on in whatever bowl that was. Uh, you can sit down at 8 p.m. on Friday, tune in the American Broadcasting Company on your local dial and watch number 10 Indiana at number 7 Notre Dame. These are the seeds, not the rankings, but the seeds provided by the college football playoff. Notre Dame is favored by 7. The AJ Fun Index is a 51.5 points. Carla, we're going to start with you. Going to be a cold night in South Bend, although Indiana's not a Southern team. How's this going to go?
This to me, this is like it's between this one and the last game, Ohio State Tennessee, that I find to be like from a pure football standpoint, the most
Hmm.
absolutely intriguing of these four matchups.
Hmm.
Because you can make a case that if we were going to call this a bowl game, this would be the you ain't played anybody bowl. I mean that's the argument against both of these teams,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
That was the argument against Notre Dame. We joke about that every year. Please, for the love of God, somebody beat Notre Dame already. Um, yeah, and that was the big knock against Indiana by some of
Yeah.
your SEC friends who were trying to make the case that Indiana shouldn't be in the playoff. Um, and you go and you look at the stats, and I mean, strength of schedule is not really a thing in college football that they calculate, but there is a couple of websites out there that attempt to do it.
Hmm.
And let's be real, they weren't great. I mean,
No.
Indiana and Notre Dame were kind of in the middle of the pack. Um, hovering right around 60 or 50, depending on who you were looking at. So,
Right. Right.
um, so this game's really interesting in that way, in that which of these teams is going to step up on the national scale and like say, okay, fine. You say we haven't beaten anybody, let's go beat somebody, right?
Hmm.
And do it in a way that kind of gets them back into the conversation. Both these teams, they put up points. They put up points, and I mean, we knew that about Indiana. I guess I wasn't quite at Notre Dame. Maybe it's because I just kind of try to ignore Notre Dame as much as possible, but um,
Totally
they
valid.
putting up a bunch of points. Two
Hmm.
of the top three scoring offenses in the country. Guess who number four is?
Hmm.
Boise.
Oh
Um,
yeah, there's that.
so like two top three scoring offenses in the country. Notre Dame is very run oriented.
Yep.
Because as we all know, Riley Leonard is a much better runner than he is a passer. Um, he gets a lot more yards per play on the
Hmm.
ground than he
Hmm.
really does through the air. But then you also have two of the top six scoring defenses in the country, right? So you would say that this is going to be like a points on points on points kind of game, but no, these teams play defense.
Yeah.
Notre Dame has one of the top three pass defenses in the nation. That's going to make things challenging for Curtis Rourke and Elijah Surratt. Um, and that's kind of been the power combination for Indiana all
Hmm.
season long.
Hmm.
Indiana second in the country in yards allowed per game, though. And that's how good that defense is. Um, when it comes to what I'm saying here is these two teams are much more evenly matched than I think people are giving them credit for.
Yes.
Um, and to me, it feels like Indiana's got an axe to grind here.
Hmm.
That's just kind of what it feels like. Like Indiana and Notre Dame never play,
Right.
even though they're not that far away from each other,
Right.
right? And this game is in South Bend.
Hmm.
And people were like, "No, you're 11-1. You didn't play anybody. You don't deserve to be in the playoff." Whereas Notre Dame kind of gets the benefit of the doubt in these kinds of
Always.
situations, deservedly or not. Indiana's got an axe to grind here. I think the Hoosiers win this game. I
Okay.
think they go out with a chip on their shoulder, playing with a little bit of spite. We know Kurt Signetti's going to have these guys fired up. We know Curtis Work's a good quarterback.
Mhm.
Whether or not he can decipher that Notre Dame defense enough, this game's going to be real tight, real tight. But I think the Hoosiers win here and make a statement. And Signetti, after the game, is telling everybody to Google him again.
Okay, AJ, what do you think?
When was the last time Indiana and Notre Dame played? I know this information. This is more of a
I,
question.
I was trying to think of this off the top of my head,
I looked it
and
up
I
earlier today and I
cannot
didn't write it
remember.
down.
I cannot remember. It has
Last
been a long time.
the last time these two teams played was 1991. When was the last time they played before that?
It was like in the 60s.
It was 1958.
Okay.
So
Okay.
they've played two games in the last 75 years. Um, Indiana, the last time they won in South Bend
Mhm.
was
They're
the
playing.
first time was the literal first time they played each other in 1898.
I was going to say they're playing South Bend High School, and yeah,
Yeah. Um, it is
1898. Wow. Okay.
1898 was the last time Indiana won a game in South Bend.
Okay.
They have played all of their games since when was the last time they played? The last time Notre Dame came to Indiana was 1950.
Could see that.
They did a home and home in 48 and 50.
Mhm.
And so basically, World War II was the last time these two teams played a like proper
Any
home and home
regularly?
schedule.
Yes. Okay.
They played 4 years in a row in the 50s, and then they didn't play again until 1991, and they haven't played since. This is a weird, this is a weird gap in college football, right? Like Pitt and Penn State, Pitt and West Virginia, um, they've had their like spates where they didn't play each other for various reasons. This is a active, we don't schedule you, we don't even think about you thing from Notre Dame. I'm with Carla here. This is the like ultimate go in and show them
Mhm.
that you mean business. Go in and show them that they're scared of you, not too good for you.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
I would agree with Carla that Notre Dame ain't played nobody, but they handled easily both Army and Navy this year,
Yep.
which
Yeah.
I think is probably Notre Dame's best two wins. They would have had a better win against USC. USC barely made a bowl. They would have had a better win if they had played a good Florida State team. Florida State was bad
Did not
this year.
happen.
So they had a weak schedule, and their one loss was a you lost to a MAC team at home loss.
Hmm.
Um, I think Indiana comes out. I think Indiana gets it done. Um, I I think there's a lot of Notre Dame fans who did not want to see this Indiana team. They would have
That could.
taken Clemson. They would have taken Tennessee. They would have taken anybody else. They didn't want to see this Indiana team. I think Indiana is going to go handle business.
Hmm. I struggled with this one because of the similarities. Carla, as you mentioned, one offense is really run oriented. The other's a bit more diverse. Certainly much better passing game in Bloomington. But defensive rankings are similar. Total offensive output is similar. Strength of schedule, as you mentioned, is similar. Is there a variable that you can look at? I actually stopped typing um, my notes for this game because I hadn't come up with a decision. Um, but if there is a variable here, and this is the entitlement of Notre Dame and the program that gets these breaks and gets into the playoff without having to deal with a conference schedule. Although I mean, you can argue at this point it's pretty heavy on ACC stuff. Um, I don't see I don't see where Marcus Freeman is going to have the same kind of motivation to hang on, because he's doing what Notre Dame is I'm using air quotes here supposed to do. Um, and they've had a good season. They have, with the exception of the thing with Northern Illinois, uh, they have run the table. They've looked good doing it. Um, they handled Army and Navy, two very good teams, and they did their other teams on the schedule did not do them any favors in terms of strength of schedule. Signetti's got it. He has had an axe to grind all year, um, and I'm going to let you two, convince me of this. With so much being even, and even with a game in South Bend, a night game in South Bend, and I got to experience that a couple years ago. It is a tough environment. I'm gonna go with Indiana on this. I think they will have the motivation to do this where Notre Dame is just kind of doing what is expected of it. Um, and I think that'll be the difference for this one.
Also, they get to play. These two teams get to play each other very, very evenly, and the winner gets Georgia. So good
That'll be
luck.
fun. That'll be fun. Yeah, that'll be good. That'll be good. Of course, the Friday night game should have belonged to Penn State.
Yes.
And I think we've talked about this. Certainly, Penn State fans have been like please God, anything but another Saturday noon game. So at noon on Saturday, on
On Max Nude Saturday.
you can find it on Max or TNT. I don't know how to tell you to do that. Number 7, the Southern Methodist University at number 11, Southern Methodist at number 6, Penn State. The Nittany Lions are favored by 8.5 points. The AJ Fun Index is a fun-ish 53.5. AJ, is that fun enough for you?
It's pretty fun.
Okay.
I
Okay.
mean, it's the funnest of the four. So we
It
take
is.
we take what we get here.
Mhm.
Um, I I have subscribed to the narrative of James Franklin is destined to lose the first home playoff game. Like I've been a member of this camp for quite
Mhm.
some time.
Okay.
SMU makes the playoff, rightfully, by the way,
Mhm.
over Alabama.
Mhm.
And they did they almost brought it back against Clemson.
They really did.
They really,
Um,
really did. Um, I think if SMU has a chance here, they cannot do what they did against Clemson, which
mhm.
was they went into a big game environment and they got lost in the lights for the first half.
Mhm.
You can't do that. Now, if Penn State shows up with what they've shown up with all year, where they don't show up until the second half, maybe that's not such a bad thing. Um, I think Penn State in the Big Ten championship did show up from the jump. They
Yeah,
showed up,
they
they
did.
were ready to go. I will say SMU learns their lesson,
Mhm.
and the fact that it isn't a night game
Mhm.
helps them tremendously. I still think Penn State gets a win, and we do not get James Franklin losing the first playoff game.
Okay. I'm going to go next, and I don't. Again, this is the weather forecast. Partly cloudy, high of 27, so chilly. And this is really the only kind of. Um, I mean, Tennessee, Ohio State. In a night at night, that yeah, it's going to be cold, but I'm not sure that Tennessee isn't really far enough south that that's going to make a difference. Um, so I don't know if weather can slow down the ponies. I think, I think Penn State's off the defense can't. Um, and if Penn State's offensive coaches, this is going to be a theme for me this weekend. If Penn State's offensive coaches continue to show the kind of creativity that they are capable of, and losing Bo, what's his name? It's a hit, no question. Um, I think that's going to be a good thing for the Nittany Lions and their fans and our friends in Happy Valley. Um, AJ, your point about getting a good start early is an excellent one. Don't let don't let this game become a shootout. Um, Run the ball, get timely chunk plays, play tough defense, and this I think will still be a Penn State win. Um, our Penn State fan, Carla,
Yes.
what do you think?
So I agree with your assessment of SMU here. They shot themselves in the foot in the
Mm,
first half. They beat themselves in the
mm,
first half of that ACC title game. Penalties, mistakes, unforced errors, all those kinds of things. But then they did almost bring it all the way back. So when SMU is playing at its top level, they are a formidable team. They're an absolutely formidable team that Penn State needs to have that's full attention for. Can the Knits defense corral Brashard Smith? That's a big question here. 1,200 plus yards in the
mm,
season, 14 touchdowns. Because what we do know is that SMU has a pretty dang good ground defense. And
mm.
so they are going to be able to throw some speed bumps for Nick and Katron. Will they be able to totally corral them? I don't know. I was impressed with the way both those backs played against Oregon. Oregon's got a pretty decent run defense as well. And the way
Yeah.
that both those guys got going against Oregon, again, credit to the credit to Andy and the offensive staff there for coming up with some pretty unique play calls there. And
Hmm.
that's gonna be, like you said,
Hmm.
that's gonna be the key. Um, SMU quarterback, Kevin Jennings, he likes to spread the ball around. Ponies have 7 ball catchers with more than 300 yards receiving this year. And that's going to test the Penn State secondary, which we know is
Yeah.
its weakness on
Hmm.
defense, right? But here's the thing, like against that in that Oregon game, like Oregon has that guy, right? They
Hmm.
have that elite wide receiver, and SMU doesn't have that guy. They have a bunch of guys who are
Yeah.
good,
Yep.
but not that elite go-to. And I think that plays in Penn State's favor a little bit defensively. I'm not saying that it's going to be an easy cakewalk for
Hmm.
them. But you don't have your Jeremiah Smith, right? Like you don't have that guy that you're going to have to go down and defend. That being said, Abdul Carter, if he can not be held for once, and Danny Dennis Sutton, hopefully will give Jennings fits in the backfield. Um, Drew Aller needs to calm down in this game.
Hmm.
He needs to calm down in this game, settle down, and see the field. As I mentioned during Bowlapalooza, he loves his Tyler Warren button,
Hmm.
and that's great. Go to Tyler Warren if he's open. Don't
Excellent point.
don't ignore Nick.
Hmm.
Don't ignore Harrison Wallace, right? Like both those guys had plays that they were standing out there wide open
Hmm.
in Indianapolis, and Drew just missed them. And he cannot, like, the opportunities are going to be there. If Penn State can play that well against Oregon, I think they can play that well against SMU as long as Drew keeps his head on straight.
Hmm.
And actually, and I think playing at home helps that.
Hmm.
I really do.
Yeah,
I think playing
absolutely.
at home is gonna help that. Um, where's that uncomfortable Saturday afternoon swag that we needed to make?
Hmm.
Um,
Oh, yeah, we forgot to do that.
yeah, we still need to get the swag store up.
I
We'll
need,
work on
I
that. We will
definitely
work
need
on
one
that.
of those.
But yeah, I think Penn State gets the win here. I think this game is tight. And I think it's going to take until somewhere in the second half before Penn State is able to kind of get a little bit of separation here.
Mhm.
But yeah, Penn State gets the win in a very uncomfortable Saturday afternoon.
We spent a lot of time talking about Penn State quarterbacks, and we didn't talk about the fact that Drew is coming back for next year.
Yes.
What do you think?
I was surprised to be
Hmm.
honest, but must be he didn't think he had. I mean, there's some other quarterbacks leaving to go
Hmm.
to the draft, and must be he didn't think that he had enough status to go first round
Could be.
or early second. I'm pleased.
Hmm.
We'll see what Key and Nick decide to do.
Right.
If we can keep even one of them, um, you're going to have a good offense again, you know?
Hmm.
I mean, obviously I'd love to keep both of them. I don't think that's reality.
Okay.
But if you can keep one of them,
Hmm.
you're going to be right back in it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this Tyler, I think Tyler still has one more year of eligible or one more year before he can go draft, or is he eligible? I don't
I
remember.
don't know. I do not know. Um, it's something AJ can look up,
AJ's
of
Googling.
course. Yeah, he's got his Google face on.
I do. Yeah, I do. Tyler is a senior.
Okay, so he's
Okay.
out.
Okay.
While I was Googling that, the last time SMU and Penn State played was September 23rd, 1978. It was a 26-21 win for the Nittany Lions in State College. Before that, they played on New Year's Day, 1948, in the Cotton Bowl, where it was
There's the Cotton
a
Bowl. Yeah.
tie. It was a 13-13
It was-
tie. So,
okay. Okay.
these two teams have played twice ever. This is the
All right.
other fun part of the playoff is you're getting teams who have never
It
played
really
each other
is. Really is.
playing each other. So we also like that.
See our
I
next game.
I have clear memories of the one time that Ohio State's played Tennessee. But we'll get to that one at 4 p.m. on Saturday. Also on Turner Network Television or Max, whatever your cable provider gives you access to. Number 12 Clemson at number 5 Texas. The Horns are favored by 12. The AJ Fun Index is 51.5. Carla,
Mhm.
I struggled with this one because I'm not super sold on either one of these teams. Even though they both, made the playoffs. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I'm definitely not sold on Clemson. And I'm kind of not sold on Texas, but like here's the caveat there. The 2 times this season that the Horns have looked absolutely mortal were both against Georgia,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And what do the Dogs do? They play smash mouth defense.
Mhm.
That's just what they've done, whether it's good or not. Like that's just right. The smash mouth defense. Quinn Ewers was sacked 6 times in
Mhm.
the SEC title game.
Ooh, brutal.
That's not Clemson football. right? That's not how Clemson plays football. They're fine on defense. They're not the menacing defense that Georgia is. To point, Clemson won the ACC title, yet allowed the Show Ponies 450 yards of total offense,
Yes.
right?
Is that bad? Is that
Well, they
Uh,
asking for
won
a
the
friend?
game, so apparently not. Um,
eh.
so but that's the difference here, I think,
Mhm.
in this game, right? And as we talked about, the SMU shot themselves in the foot in the first half, and had they come out of the gate and not had the penalty laden play that they had at the beginning, SMU probably would have won that game.
Probably.
With the way they
Yeah.
came back in the second half. So really, to me, the big challenge in this game is whether Texas can stay disciplined. Because we've seen what a disciplined Texas team can do. They went out and beat the brakes off of the Aggies in College Station,
Mhm.
right? So when Texas plays disciplined and motivated, they are capable of winning big games. The two problems that they had, other than, Ewers' problems with getting sacked and the offensive line, turnovers and penalties.
Mhm.
That's what beat them. It was, and so if Texas doesn't beat itself, it wins this game. So I'm going to go Horns here.
AJ, I'm reacting to a touchdown in the bowl game that's going on right now. Um,
Sure.
what do you think about this one?
I mean, you have two teams that have literally never played each other. Clemson
Mhm.
and Texas, two of the biggest brands in the sport, have literally never played each other. Not in a bowl game, not in the regular season, not nothing.
Mhm.
Um, I'm with Carla here. Clemson doesn't scare me,
Mhm.
right? They beat SMU because I think they were more prepared for a big time moment than SMU was
Okay.
in that moment.
That's yeah. I agree with that. That's a good way to describe it too.
And I think Texas has played. They have two losses, and they are to the same team.
Mhm.
The first time around, they got the butts kicked in. The second time around, they almost messed around and won that game.
Mhm.
They were very close. They took it to overtime to win that game. The big thing that I'm seeing is Clemson's offense does not match up well with Texas's defense.
Mhm.
Texas is very good against the pass. Clemson's not very good at the pass. Clemson's much better on the ground. Texas's defense is number 11 in EPA per rush. Clemson's offense is number 14 in EPA per rush. This is a not great matchup for Clemson's offense. Clemson's defense is much better. The Texas offense needs to figure out how to put the ball into the hands of a running back and then have the running back run.
Mhm.
They're 70th in EPA per rush.
Mhm.
Clemson's
Yeah.
defense is 113th in EPA per rush. And that showed up in the SMU game where Jennings was getting like runs off
Mhm.
toward the end of the game.
Mhm.
Ask Clemson about that South Carolina game when Lenora Sellers was just, I'm just going to run for it. And he would just run and not get touched for quite some time
Right.
until he was in the end zone. Um, I think this is the biggest. I think this one's potentially the most lopsided
Mm.
of the
Okay.
of the group,
Okay.
and I'm going to take Texas here.
Okay.
Even though the March Madness in my brain is screaming, "It's a 5-12 matchup! Don't fall for it." Um,
We will see if that carries over to football.
yeah, we don't know
Um,
yet. We don't, we
we
don't,
don't.
we
We
haven't
don't.
seen a
Yeah.
We
5-12
don't.
matchup trail over like that.
Well, and to your point about the ground game, like Texas didn't have a ground game early on, and like the last three games of the season, when Travion Wisner like showed up out of nowhere and finally decided to start running the football. So like if he has a good game, to your point, I would agree with your assessment there. But yeah, just give the ball to Wisner. Just give him the ball.
Okay. Give me the ball. Give me the ball. I mentioned I'm not convinced, not super sold on either one of these teams. I am uh, less enthusiastic. That's the right way to put this about Clemson. And we've talked about them all year. Three losses. And really, I mean, they had to scramble to get into the playoff. They had only one path to get there, and that's what they were able to do against SMU. Um, so we're looking at a conference champion versus a conference runner-up. But if you look at the conferences, I can get, um, Texas, but that their two losses came against Georgia. Um, that's less of an indictment than the rough losses that Clemson had on its docket this year. Uh, I'm gonna go with the SEC in this game. Um, Better conference, better schedule, better opponents for Texas, and overall a better performance. And the Longhorns are going to make this a win for the orange of the burnt variety. And that gets us to 8 p.m. on Saturday on the American Broadcasting Company. Number 9, Tennessee at number 8, Ohio State. OSU is favored by 7.5 points. The AJ Fun Index is a not so fun 46.5. AJ, what do you think about this one?
Um, this one is very interesting because this is a Big Ten dream. That's what this game is.
It
You,
absolutely.
you know why? Because for years, Big Ten fans have been complaining that they go down and they play
Bring them
these bowl
north.
games,
Got to bring
bring
them up
them
north.
north, and let's see them what happens. Uh, of all the teams, though, in the SEC to go handle to go handle cold, um, Tennessee is in the top three that I
Yeah.
think can handle it.
Mhm.
Number one, they're in the mountains, don't play games.
Yeah.
Rocky Top is about having a bunch of federal tax people come try to tax the still and
Mhm.
not coming back down. But also Kentucky and also Missouri, I think, are
Yeah.
the three that I would
I
choose
agree.
to be cold weather, capable. This is the interesting part of the playoff is you have an 8-9. Neither of these teams, I think, is terribly happy with how their seasons ended.
Nope.
I don't think Tennessee is like Tennessee beat Alabama, so they're thrilled about that part. But otherwise, they are not. They weren't in the SEC title game. They kind of farted away the end of the season. Ohio State, obviously, with their finish to the season. Oof.
Right.
I'm choosing to subscribe to a new form of theory, and that is that Ryan Day will be the first coach to lose a home playoff game. And who, buddy, do we want to start that? Do we want to put this coaching carousel into spin? Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Give me Tennessee to win here.
Okay, Carla, what do you think?
So yeah, both these teams didn't, end with the season the way that they wanted to. Um, but Tennessee ended with a win,
Yep.
right? I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
sure, it was against Vandy, but they ended with a win. And that's my big question here is can the Bucks shake the Michigan game?
Mhm.
Can they? Do they have the mettle to shake that game and say, okay, new season started? Because that's really what this is,
Mhm.
right? Throw the records out the window. It's the beginning of a new season. Do they have the ability to do that? Because to me, that's the difference here, right? Both these teams play excellent ground defense. Ohio State is going to have their hands full trying to bottle up Dylan Sampson.
Yep.
Um, but Ohio State, as Braden mentioned during Bowlapalooza, has the edge in the secondary here,
Mhm.
right? And so if the Ohio State defense can rattle Nico, and let's be honest, like Nico is prone to being rattled or at least inconsistent, does the Ohio State offense have the mettle to be able to capitalize on that? That's the question.
Mhm.
Because the defense is going to be able to slow down Tennessee.
Mhm.
Can that offensive line come up with enough motivation to protect their quarterback? What's Will Howard's headspace like right now?
Right.
Right? Where's his head? Can the offensive line give him enough time? Because let's be honest, the Vols front seven, real good. Real good.
Very,
That
very
is a
good.
mismatch in this game.
Mhm.
But Ohio State has elite wide receivers. Tennessee has good wide receivers, but not an elite standout. This is a game Ohio State should win, but we've said that before.
Yes, we have.
This
I would
comes down to motivation.
Yeah, and this is, I think what this also comes down to is can Ohio State's line give Will Howard enough time to get the ball to those elite receivers?
Yep.
Because
Yep.
if you listen to Tennessee fans, they love that front center and they are terrified of their secondary. They
Mhm.
do not like their secondary. And that is a very, very bad mismatch, but it requires Will Howard to be upright long enough
Yes.
to
Right.
get said ball
Yes.
out. And I don't know if Michigan pointed out all of the flaws of that line enough that Tennessee can watch that tape and go, there, there, there. We're going to do that. But that's the part that, like, I know that Crappy, you joked about how they won the 2024 offseason national championship by
Yes, he
getting
did.
Will Howard and Quinshon Judkins, but I am I still come back to looking at Will Howard and going like, I mean, you were good for Kansas State, but you weren't great. Like
Yeah.
I come
Oh, yeah.
back to it now. I'm
Right.
thinking
Yeah.
about it, I'm like, wait a minute, he was fine. He wasn't great. It wasn't
Hmm.
like, oh man, look at this guy. Carla, you didn't finish pick. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I mean, to me, the it's the offensive line that I'm worried about. Everything else tells me to pick Ohio State.
Hmm.
Everything else about this game tells me to pick Ohio State because if Howard has time, he's going to pick apart that secondary. Ohio State wins this game, and it's at home in the shoe.
Hmm. Hmm.
This game was in Neyland. Who,
Ooh.
buddy?
Ooh.
I would be thinking a lot differently in
I'm
this one. So,
I'm glad it's not.
yeah, yeah. I would probably be all in on the Vols if this game was in Neyland. The fact that it's in the shoe, um, give me Ohio State and a nail biter.
Okay. Okay. I will say up front, I am not feeling great about this game. The angst level is uh up. You guys can't see me gesturing, but it's off the top frame of the camera. Um, two amazing defenses. Front seven, if to be specific. Both front sevens are really good against two offenses that want to run the football. So that's going to be a tough thing. Going to be tougher for Ohio State with the cobbled together offensive line for sure. Um, for Ohio State's defense, I think the emphasis will be on stopping Tennessee's running game. Dylan Sampson has had a fantastic year, and that is what the Vols want to do. It keeps pressure off of their young quarterback, and plays to their strengths. So Ohio State's going to try to put the pressure on Nico, and make him the big factor in the offense. And I say that with a little trepidation because when he is good, he's really good. But he has been inconsistent. He is susceptible to pressure. He's a young guy. He makes bad decisions once in a while. What happens when Ohio State has the ball, I think, in large part depends on the game plan. Um, if there are if we're trying a power running game, as we did in the last time that Ohio State was on the field, we're going to struggle. That I don't think that's Tennessee has a better front seven than Michigan does. If we run misdirection plays, if we involve the wide receiver room, it's going to help that depleted offensive line. It's going to help Will Howard. It'll help the running backs, which is what Chip Kelly and Ryan Day want to do, and it'll exploit the one advantage that Ohio State has on pretty much every team in the country, and that is on the edges. That is on the edges. Um, I'm hoping, I am hoping that is the game plan. Um, I think back to AJ. You brought this up before that the playoff game against Georgia a couple years ago. Situation very similar. I lost a dumb game to Michigan, and then came out and we saw an offense that we had not seen all season, and it was fantastic. Will Howard is not CJ Stroud, but that offense, that kind of creativity, um, is what will be necessary. If it happens, I will comfortably pick Ohio State to win on the edges, and eventually win the game. If it doesn't, or if Tennessee gets off to a hot start, this will get ugly in Columbus. This will not be a pretty scene because that crowd will turn. Um, and then you could be looking at a really really nasty game. I am putting my trust in the program that I have followed since I as long as I can remember, that they're going to figure this out, and get us through this game at least. Boys and girls, you can hear the Carla and Crappy Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and a variety of other podcasting hosts. You can watch us on YouTube and or the show's Facebook page, or both. That would be awesome. You may recall from a year ago that you can read us on our Substack. You may recall that I've been saying it all season as well, but please go read us on our Substack. If you like us, please subscribe, rate, and review. If you don't, mind your own damn business. Are we coming back next week? We haven't talked about that. We don't.
No, we don't have anything.
Come back next time, and you'll see exactly how wrong we were, guys. We're down to the last part of the show. AJ, do you have any final thoughts as we approach the first weekend of 12-team college football playoff football?
Yeah, we got FCS semifinals, baby.
Yes. Who's coming?
Unsurprisingly, the Dakotas are here.
Me.
At noon on ABC from the Fargo Dome. We are running it back. Dakota markers, South Dakota State at North Dakota State for a chance to go to the FCS finals. South Dakota State's favored by 1.5. Your fun index is 47.5. This is going to be some Big Ten, big dumb football. I think South Dakota State gets their win back and goes. Sorry to the Bison, but they're going to Frisco, and at 3:30 p.m. also on ABC. So by the way, Saturday, if you turn on a reminder that at noon the Penn State game is on TNT, and the afternoon game. What's the afternoon game? Is that Clemson, Texas? Yeah,
Yes.
Clemson, Texas is also on TNT. So if you turn on ABC and you're looking around for college football, you're going to get the FCS semifinals, which is the right thing to do. Watch this,
which is not a bad deal.
3:30 p.m. You get South Dakota going to Montana State. Montana State has been turning teams into sawdust. This is South Dakota's first outside game since October 26th, which I find hilarious.
That's fantastic. We like
and
it.
they get to go to Montana State. It'll be 45 degrees in Bozeman. I'm sure it won't be windy and cold as shit at all. But you're from South Dakota. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the pinnacle of FCS. Let these top 4 FCS teams do battle. These are your 4 best teams. Like truly, I think the FCS. I don't know what the let me go find the FCS rankings real quick, but I'm pretty sure all of them are in the FCS coaches poll. Montana State, South Dakota, North Dakota State. 1, 2, 3, 4, right there.
Perfect.
It's not. Listen, chalk is everywhere. Just look harder. So I'm very excited to see that game. Those 2 games are also on Saturday. So in the middle of all of the other fun that we're having on the big boy games, you can watch the biggest little boy game. I heard it. And watch the biggest smaller school games and enjoy those.
And please do. I mean, we preach multiple screens, and that will still be a thing this weekend. Carla, your final thoughts.
You only need split screen. Well, first of all, for a show update, so we'll take next week off, and then we have to come back because then we got the next round of the playoffs.
Okay, good.
So we will be back
appreciate
the week after your holiday, heading into New Year's Eve. We will have a show that week.
Okay.
Taking a similar path to AJ here, because I knew he was going to totally claim the FCS stuff. So if you back up on Friday, if you're, we already talked about the Staff DNA Cure Bowl. That's the Ohio Jacksonville State game that happens at noon on Friday. The game in the middle we didn't talk about, but it's a dang interesting lead in to Indiana Notre Dame because we got Tulane in Florida in the Gasparilla Bowl.
That could be fun.
That
Gasparia!
is going to be a fun as heck game. I mean, come on, Waves versus Gators
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, what is more Florida than the ocean and gators?
being played in a stadium with a pirate ship.
That's right.
Um, so because that game's in Tampa.
Perfect.
So yeah, that game should be entertaining as heck. I would highly encourage you to. There's no FCS on Friday, so I would highly encourage you just to put your TV on ESPN and just let it run because there's also a simulcast
Starting at noon.
of the Indiana Notre Dame game on ESPN. So like,
Mm-hmm.
just turn it on ESPN and just let it run all day. Gonna be a lot of fun on Friday.
Okay.
Also, I need to find
Please.
the TV. I need to find the TV situation for this. Where is this game being broadcast? Because the D2 on ESPN2, also on Saturday at 2 p.m., is the D2 championship between Ferris State and Valdosta State.
Nice.
Got that too. Bonus,
Okay.
bonus playoff. And
Okay.
D3. I'm sorry, crappy.
Go
But
ahead.
D3 playoffs are also on Saturday. You get the semifinals between Susquehanna and North Central. And Johns Hopkins, yes, that one, and D3 Venerable Mount Union. Both of those games are on a streaming service somewhere. They're not on linear television. So
I think
probably
they're
ESPN Plus.
I think they're the entire D3 playoffs is on ESPN Plus. Be sure to check out Mountain Union. They are the team that knocked CMU out of the D3 playoffs. And I before I got this job, obviously, Mountain Union is sort of my D3 team. They are by all measure, by any measure, the most successful college football program in the state of Ohio, and that you cannot
The
argue.
Ohio State fans said that. I just want everybody to notice that. The Ohio State
It's-
fans said that Mountain Union is. It is very true. They have the
It
most
is.
championships.
There's
They got all the
nothing.
rings.
It is not a thing to be debated. My final thought was a thank you. Gabby was not able to join us for Bowlapalooza. She's our house Notre Dame fan. She is in Florida right now with her family. And sent me a couple pictures. And I remembered to do this while I am editing the show. I'm going to drop them into the video of the opening reception for the DNA Cure, whatever it is, bowl between OU and Jacksonville State. Both teams. She was out taking a walk with her brother, probably with a cocktail in hand. If I know Gabby, that's going to be my guess. But came across the opening reception for the bowl proceedings on Friday at noon. So I wanted to thank her for that. I wanted to urge you guys to watch your Mid American Conference champion Ohio University Bobcats versus Jacksonville State. That's actually that as we discussed during Bowlapalooza, it's going to be it should be a really good game. And hopefully my Bobcats will complete a dream season with a bowl championship as well. AJ, Carla, Merry Christmas, guys. I won't talk to you again before that.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you guys. Happy Hanukkah to anyone who celebrates, because that starts on the same day. We hope you enjoy whatever holiday break you get. I am going to enjoy the hell out of mine. We will talk to you before quarterfinals, right? Quarterfinals will be next, and then semi.
Yeah.
We'll talk to you before quarterfinals sometime, whenever that is going to happen. We hope if you have teams in bowl games or in playoffs, we hope your teams do well.
If your rivals in a bowl game, we hope they do terribly.
Thank you. We'll just do the blanket.
We hope
thing
they're
like that.
bad. We hope they don't do well. We hope they're all healthy and safe and they all get good at exercise and they don't injure anything. But we hope they lose and in the fashion that would be most enjoyable for you.
AJ has summed it up perfectly. Guys, you two, thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.
To you people at home, thank you for watching, for listening, for reading, for doing all the things. Have an excellent college football season and an excellent holiday. And we'll see you back here very, very soon. Cheers, y'all.